What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down Dane Brugler's brand new 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. We have a lot of updates that are going to be coming to it, so again, it's going to be very exciting for the next couple weeks. So there's going to be a lot going on. I'm actually not putting in my defensive interior rankings just yet because there is going to be at least one player that is going to be on the screen below my face, i.e. in my top 18. Very excited for that, but regardless of it, I mean, I guess if you follow me over on Twitter, I guess you can have a little bit of a sneak peek to that. But a lot of players that are being graded. We're gonna probably do a top 25 to top 30 of the defensive interiors because we did a top 40, 42 of the corners. So let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Easiest way to be able to follow me anywhere else besides YouTube is being able to go and hit that link tree. Again, I post a lot over on X, including all 22 tape that ends up justifying my decision to blow my face. But let's get into this. Starting out with the number 1 overall pick, we got the Jaguars going Travis Hunter. It's a pick that's super easy, makes a ton of sense. He's going to be a corner, and then he's going to play probably 10 to 15 reps at wide receiver. I think both those positions would be a value, and it's one of the few teams that I think the air quotes snaps metaphor or the snaps statistic actually could end up working much more justifiably than other teams. And number 2, the Raiders go Cam Ward. Interesting to see that the QBs switch around. Obviously, we'll just talk about both of them at the same time. I think that Shedeur is going to be the higher floor quarterback, Cam Ward the higher ceiling. Kind of makes sense. Cam Ward has a crazy arm talent, but also is a super seasoned veteran who still makes some pretty boneheaded mistakes. The question is, can you mitigate that? Miami's done a good job of it this year, but the question is, will Cam Ward be able to in the NFL where the margin of error is even less? Shedeur Sanders, it's just like not a crazy arm, not crazy athleticism, like really good processor, but outside of that, not necessarily going to be like the craziest quarterback prospect you'll see. At the same time, I think he would have been like QB 6, 7, or maybe 8 last year. I'm not going to, like, my grading system shifted a little bit, so I'm not going to absolutely say for certain where he would be. But I actually really like Shedeur Sanders. Going into last draft, he was my QB 5 before he ever took a snap at Colorado. So, you know, he would have slipped a little bit from there, but still. At number 4, the Patriots go Will Campbell. I'm not a big Will Campbell guy for the Patriots because I think the Patriots need to land someone who's a true offensive tackle. And whether you want to skip on that and try to get Jack Nelson in the second round, which I know I'm overly high on Jack Nelson, but I think in the offseason process through the Senior Bowl, we very well might see Jack Nelson move up to like a late first value. But I think that that's a true left tackle, 6'7", 312. Will Campbell, it's not just because of the arm lengths. I think that there's just some spatial awareness issues with Will Campbell that are like the mistakes are almost unforgivable. So I do have my worries about that. He ended up making me feel a little bit better even in that South Carolina game with him being a tackle. But throughout the season, I've just continuously felt a little bit more and more comfortable going to pure guard for him. Carolina Panthers then go Abdul Carter. Fantastic pick. It's a pick I personally make myself. It's one I already made this week. And number 6, the Jets go Jalen Walker. Very interesting. I love Jalen Walker. I mean, he is my 7th best player in the class, and that's not factoring in 2 guys above him that have season-ending injuries that those grades do not represent who they are after it was before the injury. That's what I thought of him. So technically my number 5 player in the draft right now. I think that's fantastic to see him get this type of love. He's been dynamic there for Georgia. I'm glad that finally the right Georgia player gets the number 1 love, but still, Mikel still gets his love here. At number 7 to the Titans, I'm not super duper high on him. Again, he's due for reevaluation, which after defensive interior, offensive tackles, edge is my next goal. Still waiting on UNC D tape, but let's discuss that at another time. Let's pray to God that comes in due time. But Titans going after an edge rusher. I've done it before, just not in the first round. I think there's better value there. With being able to go after a wide receiver like T-Mac, Mason Graham even, you could feasibly try to take him at this point just because the best player available. Will Johnson. Like, there's just a lot of players that I think would have a little bit better value than Mikel, but still, it's perfectly said here. Rare blend of power, athleticism, and length. It's just more so how much does that affect the football field more than just our air quotes fantasies. But at number 8, we got the Browns going Mason Graham. If he's there at 8, I'm not going to blame the Browns for taking him. I think Ashton Genty would be the more probable pick, but at Mason Graham, it's a really, really good player. So I'm not going to shame any team for taking him. He's improved so much, even from last year. A lot of people had him as like their top player coming to the year. And based on 2023 play, That was completely unjustified, and it was a lot of projection, which you guys know me, I hate projection with a passion. Projection is just not a thing for me because all that means is like, I'm going to assume he gets better. And it's like you just can't do that. You got to be like, for me, I think you have to be realistic about where they are and get excited when they do progress. And that's exactly how I feel about Mason Graham. But regardless, the Browns get themselves a damn good one there. The Bengals then go Will Johnson, unbelievable value for him. He should not be getting out of the top 5, but at the end of the day, the draft order also heavily determines. It's not necessarily the 5 best players go in the top 5. I think the 5 best players should be going in the top 10 regardless, which in this situation looks like it's doing. At number 10, the Saints go T-Mac. I think that being able to add a vertical threat in a Kubiak offense, always a benefit. Then you add in that they're 6'5" and essentially going to be very similar to Mike Evans, but maybe even faster, a little bit worse build in terms of physicality, but still great hands. I think that's a perfectly reasonable move. Number 11, the Bears go with Kelvin Banks. Pick I made this past week. Not going to disagree. You get that flexibility as well. I think he is a true tackle, but I think he's going to be a very solid guard if Karan Amagaji ends up working out as your left tackle. The Dolphins then go Malachi Starks, another pick that I made several times. Javon Holland up for a contract, as well as, even if he wasn't up for a contract, Starks would be a great pairing there with him. At number 13, the Cowboys go Luther Burden. Ooh, okay. Ashton Jeanty still is not gone. I'd be unbelievably shocked if the Cowboys spent a 4th round pick on getting Jonathan Mingo and then go after another receiver that has a relatively similar skill set. Not saying Jonathan Mingo would prevent them from going a wide receiver, but I'm saying like their vision for this role would be the same. And it's like, I don't think Jerry's the type of guy to bite his losses, to eat his losses that early. And I think that Ashton Jeanty would make way too much sense. At 14, the Niners go Derek Harmon. I like Derek Harmon a lot, not as a 1st round player. I have him in my top 100. But I do think that he is not on the tier of Byron Murphy because Byron Murphy was a blue chip defensive interior for me. Derek Harmon is a fringe starter for me. Spoiler alert for where he is as well. But Derek Harmon is someone I really loved there at Michigan State, and it's crazy to see him take this type of ascension up to the 1st round. Then you got the Colts going Siobhan Revell. They need to go after a potential top-end speed, physicality type of corner because the guys that they have there, Juju Brents as well as Jalen Jones, not necessarily have that top-end speed, so you're relying a lot on that defensive back help. And, Siobhan Revell could bring a lot of that to the table. I think that, personally, I would be opting to go a different route, but would not blame them for going after corner in this draft, especially high. At number 16, the Buccaneers go Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. He's an interesting one. I don't think this fits what the Buccaneers would be trying to go with because you're replacing Joe Tryon Shoyinka. I would prefer much heavier to go after my number 2 player in the class, James Pierce. At number 17, we got the Rams going Arianti Ursary at 17. It's a pick that I had the Rams trade up to select in my most recent mock draft. So you guys know me, very, very happy to see that. At 18, the Cardinals go Walter Nolan. I'm not the biggest Walter Nolan guy. He's done a fantastic job this year. I'm going to continue trying to reevaluate him and fall in love with him. There's just certain players where I don't, and that doesn't mean I'm 100% right. It just means that I'm going to be completely honest with how I feel about things, and if I don't feel it with Walter Nolan, there's been a lot of other defensive interiors in this class that I end up feeling it about. But Cardinals going after defensive interior is a perfectly reasonable move. The Falcons then go James Pierce here at 19. Excellent value. Again, that's why I have my board below my face so you guys can see how much I like a player without me necessarily having to say it. At 20, the Seahawks go Josh Connerly. So he'd end up being a guard in the short run and a potential like fill-in for Abe Lucas. Honestly, it's not like a pick where I've ever taken it, but I actually I really like that. Granted, I'd pray for him to trade back and do that because Josh still has some relative concerns, but I actually really like that. I really do. At number 21, the Commanders go Ashton Jeanty. He should have gone way before this. I'm going to skip this one, to be honest. I don't think there's any way that he ends up falling this far, but I just don't understand. There aren't many obvious landing spots, especially if Dallas passes. Let's go through that, actually. Let's talk about it. Like Arizona, no. Rams, no. Buccaneers, I think they'd pull the trigger over Shamar Stewart. Niners, honestly, dark horse candidate. So, I think they're like even the Bears for that matter. I think that there are some landing spots, but for him to slip to 20, again, there's no trades. So I also understand that. It's not like a team could jump up and nab him, but The Commanders could not say no to that. At number 22, the Texans go Tyler Booker. It's a move I think is fantastic. I think there's a lot of good interior offensive linemen in this class, though, so I don't think it's paramount to take in the first. At 23, this is my dream pick for the Denver Broncos, Tyler Warren. Imagine Sean Payton. Yeah, there we go. Very much a Sean Payton kind of tight end. I love it. I love it. He's going to be so dominant if he goes there. My dream spots for Tyler are going to be Denver as well as Philadelphia, because I think both of those spots would be great for him. 24, the Ravens go Kenneth Grant. I mean, I'm not going to mind this at all because the Ravens, I do trust them to develop talent, maybe more than I should. At this point, it's kind of arrogance, but even as a Steelers fan, I have some faith in Baltimore developing defensive talent. And Kenneth Grant, he's getting there. I have him now as a fringe talent. He was a developmental guy, so I do love seeing the step up. Number 25, the Chargers go Caleb Johnson in the first. Caleb's a true junior with like under 500 carries under his belt, and this dude's been an absolute workhorse. So I could totally see him being taken higher than what we expect solely because of the fact that he's so productive with so few touches. And also there's a lot of touches this past year. So there's still tread on the tire, and you got to see a heavy workload. At 26, the Steelers go Max Hairston. I mean, I could see it being like Dante Jackson-esque. I just don't think Max Hairston is a first-round corner. I don't know if he might be corner 26 for me. But like, it just depends. For a man system, I think that would be something I'd want a little bit more. Based on the corners and defensive backs that the Steelers have brought on, like they've shown a little bit of a priority for physicality that Max Hairston I don't think brings. So that's just me. At number 27, the Packers go Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson, hopefully he's okay. Because he ended up being taken off in a stretcher, if I'm not mistaken, from the most recent game and taken to a hospital through an ambulance. But he ended up saying that he's going to the Senior Bowl. Hopefully he's going to be healthy there. He's a great player. Very consistent. I don't think he's a first-round player, but again, I mean, I thought he was taller than 6'5", but 6'5", 271 apparently. Landon Jackson, I mean, he's a good player. I just don't necessarily agree with the spot, but at the same time, not going to disagree. Friend of the show, Marcus Bowe, goes at 28 to the Minnesota Vikings. They definitely could use his flexibility, his power, as well as his athleticism. Big fan of what they could do there in Minnesota if they do not trade back. At number 29, we got the Eagles going Cam Williams. Going to be kind of hard for Stout U to resist. I do think that if you do have Colston Loveland available, though, it's going to be nearly impossible to say no to that as well with how Dallas Goedert has been recently in terms of health-wise, but also age, and then also Kellen Moore loves his tight ends. Number 30, you got the Bills going Mike Green. Love showing the shout-out there to Mike Green. He's a really talented edge rusher. I think he's right on par with Donovan Ezeuruwaku, who's getting some first-round love as well, so it's always good to see that they're on the same tier. At 31, the Chiefs go Alfred Collins. Last time they went after a defense interior out of Texas, I think it was Keandre Coburn, so it didn't work out last time, but Alfred Collins is a little bit of a different beast, and he's a very, very good player. I honestly think he's very underrated as a pass rusher. Not a very athletic player, if I'm just going to be 100% with you. Like, he is probably one of the least athletic type of defensive talents, but in short range, he's pretty damn awesome. And at 32, we have the Lions going Jahad Campbell here. I mean, he's a real quality linebacker. If you could see the route for upgrade there, it's honestly a unique position because edge rusher guard just seems like the best move, but I do actually not mind it because he is by far the best linebacker in the class based off of the consensus opinion. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Showing the love that y'all always do. See you on the far side. Peace.